Wild About Harry was released in 2000. This is directed by Declan Lowney, written by Colin Bateman, and it stars Brendan Gleeson as Harry McKee. We also have a cast including Amanda Donohoe, James Nesbitt, and my personal favourite, George Wendt. And it's because of George Wendt that I became aware of this, and I like his character in this. And the film itself is interesting, but I didn't completely love it. And there are two reasons for that. The first is that the bulk of the middle of the film is just very dull. And I also don't love Harry as a character sometimes, but sometimes I quite liked him. And I will explain what I mean by that, but I won't give any spoilers, just in case you do decide to watch it, as it is an interesting concept, if not perfectly executed. We learn very quickly that he's not a nice person, his actions are not great. He is a successful TV chef, though. And quite far into it, actually, I think it was about 20-25 minutes in, something happens. I won't give all of the context, but something happens and he ends up collapsing and he gets amnesia. And he doesn't remember his TV personality. He doesn't remember all of these not very great things that he was doing. And he's basically got a second chance at life. However, before the amnesia, he was in a process of divorce. His wife was trying to divorce him. And when he got amnesia, his wife was basically annoyed because it was going to potentially delay the divorce. But we also have a different side to Harry now, because he can't remember who he became and what kind of person he became, because when he first wakes up and they ask him questions, he thinks he's 18 years old. So anything that happened since that age, he can't recall. So he can't remember making all of these bad decisions and maybe not being the nicest to certain people in his life. And that's obviously very interesting from his perspective. But we also have his family. And it's kind of like all of the negative things have been erased, at least with Harry. And they've basically faced with the situation of, if you could turn the clock back and undo those things, would you? And obviously it's not undoing the memories for his wife, but at the same time, it's like the slate has been wiped clean. And I think how people are responding to this situation is definitely really fascinating. So what I enjoyed most about this film are the actions of the characters and finding out everybody's different responses to this situation. However, as I said, the bulk of the middle is very, very slow. Not a lot happens. It's not the most interesting. What did happen? I don't know. I wasn't really caring for the specifics of the narrative. I did like some of the characters. With Harry, to begin with, he's not a nice person. He's not a likable character. That's kind of the point. And then obviously when he has amnesia, it's like a different person, because he hasn't been affected by the events of his life. Obviously, the events in our lives often shape who we are, and that hasn't happened to him because he can't remember those things. And as a character, I do think some of that is interesting. I think Brendan Gleeson did an amazing job with the performance, but there were times when I didn't like him, but there were times when I did, and I could see the vulnerabilities in the character, and that was something that really drew me to the character. So it was kind of a roller coaster with how I felt towards Harry. Not so much of a roller coaster with the narrative. It kind of got off to an interesting start, but also quite slow. It does take about a third of the film to get to the point. And then I'd say the middle part is okay, but it wasn't that interesting. But I was curious to see how it would conclude, to see what Harry would remember, to see if the divorce would be finalised, to see if he'd go back to his TV chef life and his old ways. And I'm not going to give away any of that information, of course, because, well, for me, that's what kept me going, wondering ultimately what would happen. And the ending was fine as well. I didn't mind it. So I didn't mind the film. I didn't think it was absolutely amazing, but there were definitely some interesting moments, and it made me think. So that's a pretty good thing in most cases. If it sounds like a film that would appeal to you, check it out. You might like it more than I did, but I still didn't mind it. Wild About Harry is not too bad.